In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the place value of decimals, and the essential question that we are going to be answering is how do you read, write, and represent decimals through the thousandths. Now, what I want you to do is have your Go Math book out, your math journal, and a pencil, and I want you to turn to page 109 in your Go Math book. Now, to unlock the problem, you can see says the Brooklyn Battery Tunnel in New York City is 1 726,000 miles long. It is the longest underwater tunnel for vehicles in the United States. To understand this distance, you need to understand the place value of each digit in 1 726,000. Now, we can see here on the screen and on your book on page 109, you can use a place value chart to understand decimals. Whole numbers are to the left of the decimal point. Decimals are to the right of the decimal point. The thousandths place is to the right of the hundredths place. Okay, now you can see here we have our 1, which is our whole number in the ones place. The 7 represents 7/10. Okay, in expanded form you would have 1. Okay, 1 times 1. Okay, 7 times 1/10. 2 times 1/100th, 6 times 1,000th. You can see the different place value that each digit has. Okay, so the 1 would be 1.0, the 7 would be 7/10, 0.7, the 2 representing 2/100ths, and the 6 representing 6,000ths. Now we can see that the place value of the digit 6, 1 726,000ths, is in the thousandths place. Okay, the value of the 6 and 1 726,000ths is 6 times 1,000. I'm sorry, 1/1000th, or 0.006, written just like this. Okay, now in standard form, it's just written just like that, 1 726,000ths, 1.726 in standard form. Now word form, 1, okay, pretty easy to see here. The decimal point is represented by the word and then what you do, you just take a look at this digit right here, 726. You write that first, 726. Now wherever the final digit falls within a decimal, that is the last name of the mixed number. So 726, that 6 falls in the thousandths place, so you give it a last name of thousandths. If that 6 were to fall in the tenths place, you would give it the last name of tenths. If it were to fall in the hundredths place, last name of would be the hundredths. Okay, now expanded form, we have our whole number, 1 times 1. Okay, if it were 7, it would be 7 times 1. If it were 8, it would be 8 times 1. But since the whole number is 1, we do 1 times 1. Then we take a look at the 7, the number in the tenths place, which is 7. We multiply that by 1/10. We take a look at the next digit, which is a 2. That's in the hundredths place, so we multiply that by 1/100th. We take a 6, next digit, multiply that by 1/1000th. Why by 1,000? Because it's in the thousandths place. Okay, now let's go to the try this section. It says use place value to read and write the decimals. Okay, now standard form, we have 2 35/100ths just written just like this. Okay, now word form, we have 2 written for us. The and represents the decimal point. Now then we just write 30 with a hyphen 5. Okay, because we look at the digit first. Now we need to give it a last name. What place value does that 5 fall into? So the 3 is in the tenths and the 5 is in the hundredths. So that is the last name that we will give it, hundredths. And let's write that in right on page 109. Now let's take a look at expanded form. 2 35/100ths. We do 2 times 1. Why 1? Because it's in the ones place. Now 3 plus 3 times 1/10. Why 1/10? Because the 3 is in the tenths place. And then we do plus 5. Why 5? Because that's our next digit, times, we take a look at the place value, it's in the hundredths place, so therefore it's going to be times 5 times 1/100th. We actually need to put parentheses around each of these fractions here. Okay? Now the next one we're going to take a look at is they've given it to us in word form. We need to figure out the standard form. Okay, so first of all, 3, that's our whole number, and is the decimal point. So we have 614 thousandths. We can write 6, 1, 4. Now that final digit needs to be in the thousandths place, so we can check 10, hundredths, thousandths, and that is correct. Okay, now from here we want to write it in expanded form, so we're missing the whole number first of all. So that is just going to be 3 times 1. Why 1? Because it's in the ones place. If it were in the tens place, we would do 3 times 10. Okay, plus 6, that's our next digit, times 1/10, plus 1, that's our next digit, times 1/100th. Why 100? Because that's in the hundreds place. Put parentheses around that fraction, and then our next number is 4. And we will multiply that by 1,000th, or 1/1000th. And why 1,000? Because that 4 is in the thousandths place. Okay, so you can see how we have written this number in expanded form, standard form, and also what it looks like in word form. Okay, so let's take a look at the example on page 110. It says the silk spun by a common garden spider is about 3/1000ths millimeter thick. A commonly used sewing thread is about 3/10 millimeter thick. How does the thickness of the spider silk and the thread compare? Okay, so the first thing we will take a look at is the spider silk. Okay, so 0 ones. We don't have any in the tenths, nothing in the hundredths, but we do have a 3 in the thousandths place. Now let's take a look at the thread. 0 in the ones place and 3 in the tenths place. Okay, so we can see, first of all, count the number of decimal place value positions to the digit 3 in 0.3 and 3/1000ths. Okay, so we can see here that 1, 2, 3, and then just 1 from the decimal. So we can see that 3/10 has 2 fewer decimal places than 3/1000. You can see that 1, 2, then 3. It only took us 1 there. Okay, so 2 fewer decimal places. 10 times 10 equals 100. Why is it 100? Remember, every time we move to the left or to the right, or I should say to the left on the place value, okay, in other words, hundredths is 10 times greater than thousandths, and tenths is 10 times greater than hundredths, okay, which actually means 100 times greater than the thousandths. Okay, so we can see that 3 is actually 100 times as much as 3/1000ths, because we had to move not 1 but 2 decimal places to the left. And as you move to the left with your decimal places, everything increases by 10 times greater than to the right. Okay, so we could see that 3/1000ths is moving from 3/1000ths to 3/10ths. We can see that is actually 1/100th, 1/100th of 3. So therefore, the thread is 100 times as thick as the garden spider silk. The thickness of the garden spider silk is 1/100th that of the thread. Okay, now let's take a look at this, and it says use place value patterns, and we want to rename 3/10 using other place values. So if we just have 3/10 here, right there, 3/10, 3 times 1/10. Okay, now if we have just the blue there, we could see that would be 30 hundredths. And so we could see here 30 times 1/100th. Now here we see we have 300 thousandths. I'm just going to abbreviate, but I want you to write it completely there. And then we would take 300, multiply that by 1/1000th. Why 1/1000th? Why 1/1000th? Sorry, hard to say. Because that 300, or that final zero, is in the thousandths place. Okay, now taking a look at this chart, okay, we can see how 3 and 524 thousandths can be written. Expanded form here, you can see how we can expand each number. 5 times 1/10. Why is it 1/10? Because it's in the tenths place. 4 times 1/1000th. Why is it 1 over 1,000? Because it's in the thousandths place. Now you can see here 3 ones, 5/10ths, 200ths, and the 4,000ths there. And I want you to complete that chart just like I have on page 111. Now what I want you to do is write the value of this underlying digit, and when you have it, you can press play, and I'll have the answer for you. So pause the video now. Okay, you can see the value of this underlying digit is 9 hundredths. You can have it written this way or just in word form, 9 hundredths. Okay, I want you to work this problem out, and when you're finished, you can press play, and I'll have the answer for you. So pause the video now. Okay, so you can see the answer for this problem. It is 3/10, and that number falls right in the tenths place. So you can have it written in standard form like I have, or in word form for 3/10. Now I want you to find the value of this digit, the underlying digit here, the 1, and when you're finished, you can press play, and I will have the answer for you. So pause the video now. Okay, the answer for this problem is actually 1,000th. Okay, we can see the 1 falls in the thousandths place, so the value of that digit is 1,000th. So what I want you to do is write this number in word form and also expanded form. And when you're finished, you can press play, and I will have the answer for you. So pause the video now. Okay, you can see the two answers that I have here. Check it and make sure they match your answers. So let's try another one. I want you to complete this problem at your seat, and when you're finished, you can press play, and I will have the answer for you. So pause the video now. Okay, so here's the answer. Remember, whenever that decimal point is represented in word form, you do use the word and. Okay, here's the test prep problem. I want you to complete this problem. When you're finished, you can press play, and I will have the answer for you. So pause the video now. Okay, here's the answer, letter C. And wrapping up the video, how do you read, write, and represent decimal through thousandths? And the answer to this, you can use a place value chart to help see the value of each digit. Each place is 10 times as much as the place to its right. A decimal can be written in standard form, word form, or expanded form. The last digit determines the name of the decimal. So this wraps up the video on place value of decimals. If you have any questions about this concept, please come and see me.